What's up, Node.js developers? Welcome back to a new live stream. Today, we're going to build an e-commerce admin dashboard with Next.js and Gluestack. With this dashboard, we're gonna, as admins or as sellers, we're gonna be able to manage our products, create, update, modify them, and also to manage our orders, to be able to see a list of orders, view them, manage, update the status, and so on. This project, the tech stack for this project is going to be Next.js. We're going to use Next.js for the web-based application. We're going to use Tanstack Query and Zustand. Tanstack Query, we're going to use it to query and fetch our REST API. And Zustand, we're going to use for a very small feature for managing the global state of the authentication. We're gonna use Gluestack UI for the components that we're gonna use in this application. And in fact, Gluestack is the sponsor of this video. And if you don't know about them, you should definitely watch this video or the previous one that we have done, because this is an amazing component library for React and React Native. We have a lot of pre-built components that we can use as building blocks for our application and save a ton of time. I always struggle with design, and previous video using Gluestack, I managed to build a very clean and beautiful design, because everything that I've used, I've taken from Gluestack, and with it you can just copy paste components, patterns and screens in your application, starting with forms, inputs, different type of inputs, all the way to navigation and cards and everything in between that you would need as a developer to build very nice user interface. What I love about Gluestack is that the same code is going to work both on Expo for mobile and web as well, but as well in Next.js. And in a lot of cases, you might want to build your, for example, user-facing application with Expo, because you might want a mobile-first experience there. And in our case, that's the case. We already have built the user side application of our e-commerce project using Expo as a mobile and also web application as well. But for the admin, sometimes you might want to go ahead and use a web technology such as Next.js. And using Gluestack, we can truly share everything that we have on the Expo side in terms of UI. We can share it with Next.js. And that's what we're going to do today in order to save some time and reuse as much code as we already have built in the mobile application in our dashboard. So as you can see, these are some examples of beautifully built responsive application with Gluestack. And we're going to see more about it in action today in this video. So as I said, this is a 3-part project, because this one is a huge one. In the first part, we have built the backend. We have used Node.js and Express to build a RESTful API. If you're interested in that, we're going to leave all the links in the description below so that you can follow, starting with the backend. But I'm going to provide all the code for you. So even if you just landed on this video, you can go ahead and build this dashboard with Next.js. The second part was the mobile application, the user-side application through which we can manage our cart and place our orders. We have built it with React Native and Expo. And today we are in the third part, where we're going to focus on the dashboard. We're going to start the dashboard from scratch, from zero, and I'm going to explain all the steps to build it, and everything that we're going to do today here in the live stream. Because everything else, if you haven't checked it out, I'm gonna give you the source code. And maybe there will gonna be the fourth part. I don't know. If you want the fourth part, let me know what would that be focused on. But if you're ready for this one, for the dashboard, I'm ready. We can go ahead and get started, because we have a lot of things to do today. And as always, I always prepare the guide, so the step-by-step guide that you can access at assets.notjust.dev/ecom. And while you're downloading this one, I'm gonna grab quickly a coffee. Here I have my coffee, thank you very much. Alexandra. And yeah, go ahead, get the guide, because there we're going to have important links to documentation and the step-by-step things that we're going to have to do today. And that should be it. So let me quickly say hi to everyone who's joining us live. Hello, chat. How are you doing today? And write down where are you joining us from. And while you do that, I'm going to show a quick demo of what we currently have. As I said, we're going to build 3 projects. Today, we're going to build the third one, but we have already 2 of them. The API, this is an Express application. So we have Express here, and we have our routes, all the backend code for managing our e-commerce application, managing products, orders, authentication. The e-commerce mobile, this is an Expo application, and we see it here running on iOS, but it's running also on Android and actually also on web as well. So we can open our user-facing application on web. And while that is building, I can show you here a couple of things that we have. We can go ahead and check the product page. We can add to cart. We can go ahead and add more things to cart. Then we're going to be able to manage the cart. If everything is nice, we can press checkout, and that will go ahead and place the order. This order we submit it to our backend, and today the admin or the seller should be able to manage and receive it in the dashboard. So again, today we're going to focus on the dashboard. This is our mobile application, but we're going to be able to use some of the components like the product list item that we have here. We can do that as well on the web. Hello, which version of Next.js do you intend to use? Very good question. We're going to use Next.js 14 just to be on the safe side, because Next.js 15 was released a couple of days or weeks ago. So I'm going to be on the safe side. I'm going to go with Next.js 14 for now. And actually, let's give it a try and let's start the project. In the description of the video, you're going to find the source code of this application. So you should find the source code, the full stack e-commerce API, the full stack e-commerce, which is going to have 3 folders here when you see this. It's going to have API, the e-commerce mobile, and let's go ahead and clone this repository, then clone it locally on our machine by opening a terminal, navigating where you keep your project, and let me zoom in. And then you can go ahead to take the HTTP link of our repository, and you can run git clone and the name of a project, the URL of a project. We already have that destination, so let me make dir part 3, maybe cd part 3. And let's go ahead and do git clone and the URL again. I'm showing you how you would start this project together with me. Now that we are here, we can go ahead and let's open it in Visual Studio Code. In fact, I'm going to open the project with cursor because, yeah, 1 second. Let me open it up first. And cursor is an IDE based on Visual Studio Code, so that's why everything you're gonna see will look most like Visual Studio Code. Even the extensions are going to be the same, but it's AI based, and I will need a little bit of AI assistance because, and here is a disclaimer, I'm not an expert with Next.js. While I'm an expert with React Native and mobile stuff, on the web, I'm still a student. I'm using Next.js a lot to build our website, to build notjust.dev and other projects, but still, I'm not an expert there, so I will need a little bit of assistance from AI, maybe to autocomplete some stuff. That's why I'm opening it with cursor, and we're gonna see how much of AI we're gonna use today. But at the same time, I will keep it as step-by-step as possible so that it's going to be easy for you to follow as well. All right, now that we are here in this project, I'm gonna open up a terminal, And if I do ls in this terminal, I should see API and Ecommerce mobile. That means that I'm in the root directory of my project, where I keep folders for different projects that I have. Now here it is time for us to initialize our Next.js project. Let's go ahead and open the documentation, and you're gonna find the, give me just 1 second to find the docs for this one that you're also going to get. So this is the step-by-step guide, and here you're gonna go to the dashboard part, and let's go ahead and start by initializing our Next.js project. This is the documentation. All we have to do is do npx create next up at latest, but as I said, I'm not gonna use at latest, which is 15 at this moment. I'm going to use Next.js 14. So let's do npx create next application 14. This command is going to initialize a new Next.js project. Let's give it a name. And for us, it's going to be Ecommerce dashboard, or maybe I didn't have to do Ecommerce because we are in the Ecommerce project. So dashboard. Would you like to use TypeScript? Let's do yes. Yes, lint. Yes. Tailwind CSS. Yes, we would love that. Let's do basically go with the defaults. The app router, let's go with yes. This is the recommended way nowadays. Would you like to customize the default imports? Maybe later. So let's do just no as it was by default. And here we have a new project dashboard in where we are currently initializing our Next.js application. All right, here we have our application. Now we can do a CD dashboard to navigate inside it. And we can go ahead and do npm run dev to start the development server. By doing that, we see Next.js 14 in my case, and the server is listening to localhost 3000. We can go ahead and open it up here, and we should see the entry point or the homepage of Next.js. Perfect. That is our project, and the code for it is going to be inside the dashboard. In the dashboard package.json, we're going to see a couple of scripts in which we see the dev, which is running the development server. Build is going to build our Next.js project. Start is going to start the production application. These are the dependencies in my case. And I think we are ready to move on. So how usually I do, I put the terminal there. How I'm gonna do with the dashboard? Should I just move back and forth? Or should I put it half screen this one and half screen the code? Yeah, let's try this way. Hopefully we're gonna have enough space for our code. I'm gonna move, close and open it when needed. Hello Rogelio, hello everyone else, hello John, Nikos, Sam, Carlos, Pro Evits. Sam is saying, hey, I wanted to say thank you for all your helpful React Native videos. I got my application approved on Play Store and it's also on the App Store. Again, thank you so much. Oh my God, that's so nice. I'm always happy to see these messages. I know how hard it is to get the application on App Store and Play Store. And yeah, feel free to drop the links here. I'd love to check it out. Okay, let's go ahead and before we move on, let's go ahead and set up Gluestack, because we're going to use Gluestack as the component library for our UI. So let's open the installation guide here. And as we can see, Gluestack currently supports Next.js from 13 to 14. And in a moment, like I was talking with the team today, they are adding currently version 15 support. So by watching this video, Gluestack should already be should already support Next.js 15. Let's go ahead and initialize the Gluestack configuration using npx Gluestack UI init. That is going to add a couple of files for the configuration. It will install and configure Next.js if it needs to. And I'm going to open a new terminal. I'm going to make sure that I'm inside my dashboard, inside the Next.js application. If I do ls, here we have it. For example, next.config. And here I'm going to do npx Gluestack UI init. Yeah, this video is sponsored by Gluestack, that's right. And at the moment, Gluestack does not support 15. But when watching this video later, the version 15 is going to be supported. So yeah, that's the reason. But that's not the reason why I use Next.js. I actually meant to use Next.js for a very long time to have tutorials. So let's go ahead and do the configuration here because Gluestack detected the Next.js project. And let's do yes, yes. Hey, Elvis, Evils. I'm gonna definitely talk with them about that. I'm wondering, like, where is it coming from? Is it from the Gluestack side or from the Tailwind? Because there are Gluestack is built with Tailwind, and there are still some issues with Tailwind that I was encountering even before using Gluestack in our projects. So yeah, here it's a tricky one. But both of these technologies are getting a lot of support and are currently the Gluestack team is investing in Gluestack, and Expo team and Dan and others are investing in Tailwind, and these two technologies are moving at a very fast pace, and in a couple of months they should be way more stable. Okay, so we have Gluestack initialized. If I'm going to go to reload the page, let's see if it's still going to work, or we're gonna need some additional configuration. Yeah, our next application is still working. And to test if the configuration for Gluestack was done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to install a Gluestack button by calling npx Gluestack UI add button. This, what it's doing, it's copying the code for a button inside our project. I'm going to show you later where it is. And now I can go ahead in the dashboard, in the application, in the page.tsx, above the image, let's go ahead and try to render a button. I'm going to render a button imported from components UI button with a button text. Click me. And the button text should also be imported from here. Button text. I'm not sure if I can see it. I'm going to make sure that the background of our whole page is going to be white. Okay. And the button doesn't display properly. So I'm going to have to restart the server and try again. Okay, now our button is displayed properly with the styles coming from Gluestack. Not sure if I should be worried about this one. Is something related to Webpack? I don't know. You guys tell me. But our configuration for Gluestack is working. Everything is working perfectly here, which means that I can go ahead and do a git add, git commit -m, but not in, or maybe in the dashboard. Setup Next.js project and Gluestack UI. I'm going to push it to origin main so that you can have access to it as well. Perfect. Sam is saying, I'm still so sad about missing the workshop you hosted at Saxion. Oh my God, that was quite a long time ago. Was it a year or 2 years ago? Are you from Netherlands, Sam? I'm not sure what the error is, but you could try Turbo. Let's try with Turbo, which is from 15, is actually the default. Is coming to replace Webpack. So if I go into the dashboard package.json and do here dev, and I think -- turbo, that is going to tell Next.js to use the turbo pack. I think that's how it's called. And let's see if everything is gonna run as it was running before. And it says turbo pack is not configured, but maybe with the default configuration is going to work. Let's reload. And I know that with turbo, like the local development experience is much better. With the default one, is it coming from? Can't manage React Native, but yeah, you know what? I'm not sure. Probably Turbo should be configured for this to support our Gluestack files. I'm going to go back to Webpack, and I'm going to explain you why. If we look into the components, that's where Gluestack is going to download the source code for our components. If we look into the button has just index.tsx. But for example, provider, it has index.tsx and it also has index.web.tsx. And these are the two components targeting different platforms. The one with .web obviously targets the web. And here it's using everything from React and it knows that it's targeting web. The index.tsx is targeting mobile, so it has imports from React Native. And Webpack is configured probably here to know to import the .web first if it exists, and only then to fall back to index if the .web version of that file does not exist. So that's why with Turbo it was not working, but probably you should be able to configure it similar to how you can configure Webpack, but I'm not going to get into the configurations now because I'm going to bore you out of your mind. So I'm going to continue using Webpack here. And yeah, everything is working. So let's go ahead and continue our application, or at least start working on our UI. The first UI that I want to work at is the fetch and display products. Fetching and displaying products. Again, I'm going to reuse as much as possible things from the mobile version. So on the mobile, on the home screen, we are fetching and rendering products. For this, we have created an API folder with some functions that are fetching data from our API. One of these functions is this list product. Let's go ahead and copy this list products, or maybe I'm gonna copy both of these functions. Today, I'm going to do a lot of copy pasting, but in a real world scenario, you would actually share this code through by having like a monorepo or by having published packages. But today, to simplify the project, I'm going to simply copy, for example, the code from our mobile API products. Let me actually copy this file into our dashboard. I'm going to create a folder here, API, that has the API. Come on, API. And from mobile, let me copy the products code and move them here into the products.ts. This file needs the API URL environment variable. Because we are no longer in Expo, we are in Next.js. Next.js has also this pattern that probably Expo got inspiration from, where we have next.public environment variables. And if it's next.public, if a prefix is next.public, these environment variables are going to be accessible on the client side in the browser. So I just simply rename in our dashboard the process.env to next.public API URL. And what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go into the dashboard, create the .env file with next.public. And here either go ahead and do localhost, or we're going to use next public equal the one that I have it deployed. And in a second, I'm going to show you how you can also deploy the API or how you can run it locally. But for a second, let me just go to, for example, Ecommerce mobile. And from the env, I'm going to copy here this URL for my API. I'm going to move it to our dashboard URL. Last thing before I show you how we can run the API, I want to make sure that these functions, for example, list products, they are going to work. So I'm going to go into our application and let's go and create a folder called dashboard. And inside dashboard, I'm going to create another folder called products. And inside products, I'm going to create the page.tsx file, and page.tsx, the name is very important because while in Expo, the name of the file can be anything, and that is going to be the URL. In Next.js app router, only the folder path are going to be translated to the URL, and everything inside a folder is all the files that belong to a specific path, a specific screen. So that's why we need the page.tsx, and this is going to be the file that tells like what we want to render when we navigate there. So let's export default, maybe not async for now. Let's just do return. I'm going to return h1, a normal h1, and DOM element, products page. I'm going to go ahead and navigate to localhost/dashboard because that's what we have, /products, and there we're gonna see our products page like this. Perfect. And let's go ahead and try to call one of the functions from our API. So from our API, come on, not like this. Let's first import it. Let's import list products from API products. And this API is not our backend. This is a folder where we keep our code for interacting with the API. And let's just call list products and do then console.log without calling it. Now, if I'm gonna go ahead and open the inspect here to look at the console log, at the consoles, and if I reload, will I see anything? Probably that's going to be in this console because my page is server rendered. So if I look here, we see data about our products, which means that we are correctly fetching them from the server. Perfect. Now, before I go ahead and use Tanstack query and then render these products, I just wanted to make sure that we can fetch them from Next.js from our API. Now, let me show you how you can also run the API locally. Because our API is in this API folder. And one way to run it is going to be to open a terminal. Open a terminal. I think I will need more space. Do a cd API. And in the cd API, we actually need an environment file. And let me double check what environment we need there. Database URL. So I'm going to create in this API a file called .env.example to have it in our source code so that you also know what you have to put here. URL to your Postgres database. So let's go ahead. You're going to have this env example. I'm going to push it in a second. Let's go ahead and duplicate it and just call it .env. In this .env, we need the URL to our Postgres database. If you can run it locally, that's perfect. If not, I recommend using Genesio that we use for this project. And by creating an account, you can go ahead and create a database, a Postgres database. And then I'm going to go ahead and say connect here, and I'm going to copy the connection, the database connection URL. That's all you have to do. When you go back and paste it here, and you can now run our API locally. For that, I'm going to open the terminal. I'm going to make sure to cd in the API folder, and I'm going to do npm run dev. This is not running because, of course, we need to do npm install first. And we have API. Let's do npm run dev. We have a port being used. So in the source index, let's do 3001. So now our API is listening to localhost 3001. We can test that by simply opening the browser and sending a GET request to localhost 3001. And that should be the hello world, and localhost 3001/products. That should be an array of products. Perfect. Now you have your API running locally. Now all you have to do is go into your dashboard.env file and use http localhost 3001, and that's going to be your API URL. And just like that, I'm actually going to move this one on this screen as well. And just like that, we can reload, and in the terminal where we have our dashboard running, let's see if I can clear. I will restart it to connect it to the local API. Compiling. And yes, perfect. We have the list of data from our database. If you just created the database, your database might be empty. So I'm just going to show you how you can put some data there. Back on Genesio, you can go ahead and press Actions, View Data. And here you're going to have an SQL editor. Now go back to the guide that I gave you. Go back here to the Expo part, and here under dummy data, I have an SQL query that you can copy from here that inserts in your database these parameters. Yeah, but first you need to configure the database. You need to create, to run db migrate. Okay, so it takes a bit of time. It takes a bit of things to do, but before you execute that one, come to your API and run npm run db migrate. That's going to take the migrations from locally and applying them, basically creating the tables in your database, and only then you're going to be able to insert in those tables this dummy data. And then after you have some dummy data or some data in your database, we can either run our API locally, or you can easily deploy the API also to Genesio by running Genesio deploy inside the API, and that's going to deploy your API there so you can access it from anywhere. That's probably what I'm going to do, or maybe I'm going to use the local one. We'll see, because today maybe we're going to have to do some changes to the API as well. But now that we have data from our API, we can go in our dashboard. In the page, we have here list products. And what we want to do is we want to render on our screen. Hello, Davish from India. Hello. Sam is asking, have you ever thought about explaining Agora, like building it from scratch with server authentication? Agora offers a built-in UI in React Native, but with video enforced, which I don't want. I haven't thought about that. And Pro Evils is suggesting me to use server components. And that's very true, but at the same time, so what I can do is I can mark my function as async, which in the past was not possible because a React component should be a synchronous function. But with server components, if we do that, these functions are going to run on the server with suspense, and we're going to be able to do a wait here without needing like extra libraries like Tanstack query. Let's give it a try that way, because I've prepared it with actually Tanstack query as client components. Maybe we can do it this way. I wanted to reuse as much as possible from mobile, and in mobile, if we look at the application index, here we have Tanstack query to handle the fetching and the data, the errors for the for our interaction with the API. But indeed, on the dashboard, if we are using server components, in that case, we do not need Tanstack query. We could do that here directly by doing async, and we can say const products or data is equal to list products, like this. Maybe even you can put it in try catch and await. So now we can await here, and here we're going to say, I don't know, let's render our products dot map, and for every product I'm going to render I'm gonna move to a div, and for every product I want to render a text with product dot name. And it also needs a key, for example, product ID. Let's see what that is going to do. So yeah, as we can see, if we go to localhost 3000 dashboard products, we see an array of products. Maybe I wanted a div here to have them from new lines. So yeah, that's working. And this is a server component. If I do console logs here, we're gonna see them on the server, which means that I'm not gonna see these console logs in the browser console. Fetch failed for some reason. But we're gonna see them here on the server. What did I do to break it? It worked for a second and now it failed. List products, await fetch. How did it fail? Oh, maybe my local API stopped, right? Yeah. And I don't know. I don't think I will use local API for a second because that one can break at any point. What I'm going to do is in the dashboard environment, I'm going to move from local to my deployed one, which is on Genesio. So here, yes, if I go back, we see our list of products. Nice. Let me go ahead and render them properly. And here, I would like to use as much of code sharing as possible. Because on our mobile side, we already have a component that is rendering one product. I'd like to reuse that component. And again, in a real world scenario, you're not going to have to copy paste it. You can actually share code or share the components between mobile and web. But in this case, I'm just going to go into my mobile, into components and product list item. Let me copy this one. Let me copy this file with all this code inside our dashboard. I'm going to create a folder, or should I just add them in this products page as a product list item.tsx. On mobile, you wouldn't do that because in the app you only keep navigation or screens, but here, because we have page.tsx, this one is going to be ignored by the navigation. So I suppose this is a common pattern here, but please let me know if that's not the case. And the only small things that we're going to change is, for example, the link is not going to be imported from Expo router, but from a different place, from, let's say, next/link. Now we're going to need to install the card, image, text, and heading Gluestack components. So let me go ahead and navigate to dashboard and start by doing add card to install the card component. Then we're going to add image to install the image component. Then we're going to add the text component and the heading. Now that I have this one, the link component probably is not this structure. It should be like this. A pressable, we do not have a pressable. We do not need a pressable here. So I'm going to remove it. Maybe I can do it as a button or something like that. So yeah, I'm going to remove pressable from our render like this and keep only the card. And the link here in Next.js does not have a child, so I'm going to remove that. And let's see, let's try to use this product list item in our page to render the components. So instead of rendering this div, what I'm going to do is I'm going to render a product list item, imported from the same folder as the page. Let's import it. Why don't you like it? Import product list item. Let's use it and let's send there the product property that we want to render, product. And we need also to provide a key here for React optimization, product.id. Yeah, I have a typo here in the name, but now that I wrote it properly, think it should work like this. All right, so something is working. Something is definitely working. The only thing that is not working is on the page.tsx, on the component that is wrapping around everything else. So what I'm going to do here with some class names, I'm going to say that this should be some kind of a grid, because on mobile, what we are doing on mobile here in application index, we are using a flat list with multiple columns. On web, we're gonna put it also in multiple columns. So let's do that, I don't know, flex row, or flex row is going to be the default. And maybe even a flex wrap to move from a new line the items. Yes, if we do that, we see a grid forming. That's good. I'm gonna zoom out a bit. And the width of them is different for all the items. So let's go into a product list item to see what's going on with the width there. I think let me check if I remove a link from here and only leave a card, if that's going to change anything. It's going to be even more different. So probably the link should be here, class name flex1. Yeah, that is taking all the available equal amount of space, but at the same time, I want this card to have a minimum width of I don't know, 200 pixels, something like that. Let's try. Okay, is that 200 pixels? What do you think? I don't think so. 300, or maybe it is. Maybe it is. Yeah, so 300 pixels, that's good. With 1/5, that's going to take like 1/5 of the container, but I don't want that because I want it to still be responsive. So if I shrink it down, it's going to just move it to from a new page if it tries to be less than 300 pixels. And on a mobile screen, it's going to be like this. What I want to do maybe is provide to the whole container a maximum width. So here under the page, I'm going to say, hey, max width. Yeah, I think that looks good. Max width 960 pixels, which is going to look something like this. Maybe even more, maybe more. How much? 1200 and 1200. I don't know. I'm not a web developer, but this looks okay. Later on, we are also going to add some layout, some sidebars and so on, and it's going to be different, but at least now we have the components. And if we press on these links, we are navigated to 404. Why we're navigated to 404? Well, that's because in our product list item, we are redirecting to product ID. I would put this the product details page, but let's do that in another commit, because now our product list is ready. Product list. Git commit -m product list, product list. And you saw how easy it was to have this UI, and that's because we have reused a lot of things. We have reused this product list item almost 90% of it. And I think if we extract like this card is actually exactly the same as on our mobile. So if I just copy it and check it on mobile in the components, product list item, if I search for it, it should be exactly this one that we have here, card and all of this part. So this is the reusable component or the reusable code that we can use both on Expo for mobile, on Android, iOS, also for web with Expo, but in Next.js as well. And that's the beauty of building universal application nowadays with all the technologies that we have. Okay, so now that we have our list of products, let's go ahead and develop the product details page, because that one, even though we don't really need it, maybe we're gonna need it later. Let's go ahead and create it to see how we would structure different pages in Next.js. For that, I'm going to create a new folder in the products, and that folder is going to contain a dynamic path parameter, the ID of a product, similar to how we do it in Expo. In Expo router, I mean, we are using square brackets, the name ID, and inside there we have a page.tsx, which is going to have a code for the page that we want to render. So let's start with export default like this. I'm not sure if I need to fetch product.id yet, but at least I will say, hey, this is product details. And if I go ahead and navigate now to product/1, it should be product details. Which means that when we click on one of these items, product list items, the link should navigate to /dashboard/products, plural, because that's the name of our folder, then the ID. And now, if I click on one of them, it should work. It should navigate there. How do we take the ID? In Explorer, we do that with use local search parameters. Here, probably it's through params. Let's see. I'm not 100% sure, but let's just console log them. And if I navigate here, the params, I don't know where to look, to be honest, but if I reload, it's not here, 20, for example. Yes, the params here has the ID 20. So that means that params has the ID of type string, and with that ID, we can go ahead and fetch the product. We can fetch the product, which is a function that we brought from our mobile here, that is sending a request to products/ID and is giving us the data for that product. Let's go ahead and import first this function from our API products, and we're gonna transform. Should I destructure the ID right away from parameters? I think so. And I'm going to use the ID, but the ID is a string, so we need to parse it to a number. Number ID like this. Now we have a product. Let's try to render product name to see if we correctly are fetching the product with that ID. I'm going to click on this item, Apple Watch Series 9. If I click on this one, noise cancelling headphones. Perfect. That's amazing. Now I can look at our mobile project. Where is our mobile? Ecommerce mobile. I'm going to look how did we render it on the ID here. And on the ID, what we did is we used the box, a card with wish list and so on. I think what I'm going to use on the dashboard is the same product list item from here. I'm going to use it in our case. On the details page, I'm going to say product list item, and I'm going to send there product product. How will that look? If I do that, it looks like this, and I just need to modify a bit this div to say, hey, be maximum max width I don't want to be too huge like this, and maybe MX auto and W full for full width and centered in the middle. Yeah, something like that. Again, we're gonna work on making it more beautiful when we add more layout items for navigations and so on. But now the data, the navigation, the fetching, everything that we need here works perfectly. Let me go ahead and do git add git commit -m, and this is our product details screen. Perfect. I think they have container classes and they have max with XL. Okay, I think that would make a lot of sense. Max with XL, like this. Yeah, that looks good okay as well. 2XL, 3XL, and this is in order not to write them manually. Or there is also, I think, medium. And there is large, which is a large screen. Or no, large is also for that. Let's see what width as well. Screen XL. What's the screen XL? So this is 1280 width. I think that's more or less what I was looking for. Perfect. So, how's it going, everyone? How are you doing today? How many of you have been here previous week and are already working or implementing the mobile and the API? Let me know. I'm really curious about that. Are you using tab 9? No, I'm using cursor. Is it Tailwind? Yes, it's Tailwind. Both on mobile as native wind and on web as Tailwind. Will this application be web and mobile? No, this is just a web application. The dashboard is going to be just a web application that is going to be responsive for mobile as well. So you're going to be able to access it on mobile, but through the browser, not as a native application, as we can see here. It's already running on the server. None of it is client-side at the moment. Not sure what you're referring to, but yeah, most of the things that we have here are already running on the server, because through the components or pages that we have created, none of them have use client. So yeah, they are server side. But the next step is going to be interesting, because the next step is the authentication, and for authentication, I prepare the authentication to be like client side. Like when I prepare this project to be like a normal SPA, like single page application, with most of the things running on the client. And I hope we're not gonna have some surprises to implement the authentication on the server side. Because again, like I'm not an expert with Next.js, I'm still a student here. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna be back and we continue because the next step is going to be authentication. So yeah, I'm gonna be back in a second. Look who's here. Wanted to say hi to everyone. He had today his first haircut. Say hi, Denchik. Look at him. He's very sleepy today. Denchik, you sleepy? Say hi. Okay, bye. All right. Dog name. He's Dan, but we call him Denchik. Hey Patel, I don't think I can do that here during the live stream. Let me know, write me a message, and maybe I can find some time to look into it. But in the live stream, it's a bit tough. Okay, guys. So let's continue our dashboard. Let's continue our Next.js dashboard. And the next step that I want to do is going to be, well, the next logical thing is going to be that we worked on the product to allow an admin to create a product. But for that to happen, we are going to have to authenticate them, because if we look in our API source, routes, products, we see that the list product and get product by ID, these are public, and I've made them public to simplify things. And I think even viewing a list of products is okay to be public. But creating product, updating them, deleting them, they need to be authenticated, and the users should have a seller role, because we have this middleware verify if it's a seller or not, because users, like end users, they are not allowed to create products. So what we need to do is we need to allow users to authenticate in our dashboard. For that, we first need the UI, and let's go ahead and create it. In our application, let's go ahead and create a folder called login. And in this login, let's create the login page. I usually start with export default function login page, and let's just render something to make sure that we can navigate there. So localhost 3000/login should be our login page. Well, not like this. I have an extra L there. But like this. Okay, we have a login here. All good. Now, again, I'm going to reuse some of the stuff that we already have on mobile. I'm going to go into my mobile because there we have our login screen. So application of login, we have here the UI for our login screen with a form control and so on. Let's go ahead and copy all the return statement from this screen. And let's bring it to our dashboard application login page and replace our return here with the one from there. We're gonna have a lot of things to adjust, so let's take it step by step. First of all, let's go ahead and install some of the things like the form control, which is a Gluestack component. So in the Gluestack documentation, we can go into the components and we can find here form control, and we're gonna add it with this command. So let's open the terminal, make sure that we are in that dashboard. And here we can run npx gluestack add form control. And after that is installed, we can import it from our components form control. We're gonna skip some of the errors here. Let's first make sure that we have all the components. Next, we need a vstack. Let's install npx gluestack add vstack. Let's import it. Heading, believe we should have it already. Yes. Text. I'm gonna try to import it, but the text is always auto import for text for some reason is not working, but we already have it. The input is something that we need to install because it's a new component on our dashboard. So let's add input. And let's import it at the top here, import input from our UI. And also from this component, we have the input field. And what else? That's it for now. Input field, input slot. Also from here, input slot and input icon. Okay. If we scroll down here, we have hstack. Do we have it installed? Import hstack. I don't think we have it installed, so let's go ahead and install it. Gluestack add hstack, horizontal stack. Let's import it. And let's see if we have button. Yes, we have button. Let's import it from components UI button. Same with the text, components UI button. Make sure that the button and the button text are coming from our components UI folder, not from React Native or somewhere else. And just like that, we have all our components that we are rendering here. The next step is to handle some of the data. For example, this is invalid. I'm going to remove this part and say a simple false. Then we have the login. We have email with email value and the set email text. And these were state fields. And I think we also need to have them as state fields. But if we want to have state values like email and password, in that case, this component, this page should become a client component. Use client. So let's add use client, and now we can, this component, this page is going to be rendered on the client side in our browser, and there we can use state variables. So now we have input field, we have password, we have input slot handle state. I don't think I want like this feature of showing and hiding the password. I'm going to remove it because it adds a little bit of complexity that I don't want to handle it now. And I'm going to remove a use state show password. And here in the input field, the input field is going to be always a password type. On press, let's remove this mutation and replace it with an empty function and with login as well. Okay, now probably fixed all the issues. I don't need these two imports. Let's go ahead and see if we can, if everything is still working. Well, yes, everything is still working. Maybe I'm gonna go here. Yes, we have our login component. Let me go ahead and wrap it around, let's say, maybe a box with the class name justify center and item center in order to put it in the middle. And let's close this box at the end of a component and make sure to import it from, well, we don't have it yet, but we're gonna install it first with Gluestack and then import it at the top from the components. Now, yeah, it should be here, but the form control has this max width. Maybe I'm not gonna do max width, but, or let's do with full and max width. Yeah, that's going to be better. And what's going on here? Why is it not full screen? Let me try a background color red here to see if this component is full screen. No, this one is not full screen. So should it be flex? Or should I have min width screen to be minimum full screen? Not width, but height. Yes, now it's better. So I can remove the background color red from here. And then probably don't need the flex. Okay, now I have a login screen in the middle of the screen. We can write things here, and then we can sign in. For the sign in, I think, well, I don't think we need sign up on the web, do we? Or maybe we can have it. Yeah, let's leave it. It's okay. So now that our UI is ready, we need to send this request to our backend. So for that, in our API, we need a file called auth.ts where we're gonna have the login and the create an account requests. We already have them in our mobile, so I'm gonna again copy paste them from there. In our mobile API, we have auth, and here we have a login request, fetch request, and the sign up fetch request. Let's copy them to our dashboard API auth. Let's replace here at the top from export to next public API URL. That's the environment variable for our API URL on the dashboard. And everything else should be the same. Now I think we can go on our application login page and call these functions here. But oh boy, I'm in a bit of a trouble because again, as using mostly SPAs and Tanstack query. And here I'm thinking what would be the best approach to call these functions. Because I can have here a function const on login that is going to do await login, import it from our API auth, and const on sign up, which is going to be calling on sign up, also imported from our auth file. Let's call these functions, or maybe let's do const result. Here const result and console log the result. Let's see what we have here. On login, on sign up. Then these buttons will simply call the on login, on sign up. So now if I'm gonna go ahead here and do new at gmail.com, password 123, if I call sign up, the log should be here and we have an error, failed to log in, because that's thrown inside the login. Yeah, that's good, that's good. We just need to try catch here. Catch. I'll simply do an alert here, failed to log in. And the same things on the sign up. Try, catch, and alert. Sign up. We should see an alert. Or maybe new at. Failed to log in. Let's see what is the reason. Okay, let's inspect console. We have an object here. Actually, I see the token, I see the user. For some reason, the token exists, but the user, no. What's going on? In the auth email password. Why doesn't have email? I'm not sure why it doesn't have email and why it told me that. Because we are sending correctly the new email and password. Can I do sign in now? I think I messed up the buttons, the order of the buttons, sign in and sign up. Sign up should do on. So, yeah, I messed up on login. So now first we need to sign up. It gives us an error because what? Because we already signed in. So if I do new one, sign up, it worked. It gave us back in the response the user with ID 40 and a token, and I can also do sign in. And if I look at the response, it has information about the user and it has information about our token. Good. So what do we do with this information? Hola. So we have this information on the mobile. What we have done is we have stored it in the global store with user and token. And when we use this information, we use this token for the next requests. On the dashboard, who here has experience? Where should we store the token? So that it's going to be accessible both on the server side and on the, but maybe only on the server side. So dashboard application. Let's see next off. Should I use next off? Or that's something else. Should I use dashboard? Yeah, I'm thinking, what are the options? Because, yeah, preparing this project, as I said, I was storing them in a global store. And that was working perfectly fine on the client side. So maybe I can try the same here. And will Zustand work on the server side as well? Yeah, there is no point in having like state management in server side components. Hello, Bilal. Thank you. Zustand with local storage sync or something. Yeah, and will we be able to access the local storage from server side? No, we won't, because local storage is in the browser, is the browser data. So yeah, let's go ahead and maybe we're gonna have to switch through to use more like client-side components. Cookie is another option, and the cookie is we're gonna be able to read it both on the front end and the back end, right? Let's see, Next.js cookies. Because if I can use cookies to read them both on the front end and the back end, I think that's good. Cookies. So we need to, yes, you can. So that means that on login, here we have a token. I need to set it as a cookie, right? Look, this one already knows. And let's see if it will. Yeah, let's use AI, because we're not that smart. We're not smarter than AI. Store rest.token in cookies. JS cookie. I don't. For server side, like this is the documentation. But for client side, you're saying that I need to use JS cookies. Yeah, I know I can do the actual logging on the server with server actions, right? And in that case, everything is like the logic of logging and writing the cookie and reading the cookie is going to be on the server. I don't know. That's an experiment. Let's give it a try. Again, I'm a student when it comes to Next.js. Let's go ahead and do Next.js actions. And the actions are the functions on the server that we invoke from the client side, right? So our asynchronous functions that are executed on the server. So instead of having this on logging that is calling and executing it on the client side, what we are going to do is we are going to invoke a server-side action. Let's give it a try. So in server components can use the inline function use server. In client components, to call a server action in a client component, create a new file and add use server at the top. All exported function within the file, add server actions. Okay. So that means that in the login, we're gonna have a file, actions, right? .tsx. We need use server at the top. Maybe the cookie is a bit later, but we need to export an async function called login, which is going to get email and password. And this function, I think it's basically doing what I have there in the API, but let's just extract it like this. I'll not do fetch here. I'm going to call await login. And this one, I'm going to import it from the API. This is basically the fetch request and so on. It's going to be in a try catch because it can also fail. This is the minimum that we need here. Now this is an action, so we can invoke it on button as a normal function, right? But I also need to pass data there. Form data. And I have to make it as a proper form, right? Here, like a proper form. With input names and submit buttons. But I have like two forms, like login and sign up. Maybe I can handle only login now. Let me see what your guys are doing. Action.yes, that's true. I don't need X here because it's not nothing. So back in our page, I think we need a proper form. Is this one rendering a form or no? Maybe not. Form, handle login. I'm gonna close it where? Here in the after form control. My inputs, they need names. Will they have names? I don't know. But my button should be a submit button, because right now we are not going to submit it. Handle login is not defined. We need to import it. So let's import it from actions. Now it is defined. And if I do test 1, 2, 3 sign in, what's happening here? Well, these buttons are still calling client-side functions. Type submit. Will this work here? I don't think. Let me try a normal button here for a second. Button submit. Type submit. That's the one that I'm looking for. If I press it, I should be able to see the console log on the server for the dashboard. Invalid data, email is expected string received object. That's good. That means that we correctly invoked the server action here, and it caught the error because this is not a proper email. I can do at gmail.com. And if I press submit here, what's happening? Let's see. Well, something was happening. If I do again, submit, fail to login, email received object. Yeah, because that form action will no longer receive them like this. It will receive as form data. So it will receive as form data. We can try form data.get email, but first I'm going to do a console log form data, because most probably it's going to be empty because I don't have names on my inputs, but we are discovering it together. So let's give it a try. If I do submit now, we see that form data is an object with not enough information, like it doesn't have email and password. If I go back to the page, and for the input, for this input, I say name, email, and for this one I say name, password. If I do submit now, what's going to be here? Still the same thing, because most probably Gluestack is not sending the proper name down. Because if I look at the component here, it's an input, but I don't think it has a name. Oh, come on. Input, but it doesn't have a name. Prashad is saying, glad to see you are working with Next.js because it's the best framework right now. Yeah, but I went into some areas that I was not planning to, but we are experimenting together. We are So this input field name, if I do name here email, will it work even though I doesn't know about it? Submit, let's check here, still not there. But can I call an action without going through this form, input and submit? Can I just call a server action? Because I saw most probably I can, so I don't, in that case, I don't have to change a lot of my UI. Because I can call it like this. And maybe I don't need form data here. I can just, yep. Let's try it this way. Instead of submit, instead of going through the submit part, if I go here, instead of type and say on press, let's call on login with this data, with email and password. Not form data, but variables on email and password. Now if I go into the action and say that, hey, handle login, maybe it should be handle login actually, sorry. Handle login will have email of type string and password of type string. Will I get them here? I think I will. So in that case, it's going to be easier. Test, sign in. Let's look into the logs. Test and test. Perfect. So that means that I don't need to go. There is an option to call an action, a server action using the form action, but that's not the only way, because we can call them manually. And in that case, we have more control over what data we send there. So I'm going to have here handle login. I'm going to send there email and password. It's going to call my server action. I no longer need the button submit. And I no longer need the name of our input and here, because I do that for state. The value of using a form is that you do not need a state. So in that case, you let the form handle the data. I don't need this on sign up and on login here because I'm doing them in the server action. So now I think I'm going to be able to do it like this. Let's try it. Let's go new at Gmail. Yes, we have correctly signed in with the email and password, and we have a token. So you're saying that now, because we are in a server action, I can set here the token inside cookies, right? Free roles, super admin, admin, and user. I have a seller, and I don't have an admin yet, but at least I have user and seller, and the seller will be able to create and update orders and to create and update products. So I need to put it in the cookies. Someone in the comments already gave me the code, or I can look into the docs just for me to learn it as well. So we have cookies here, and we can do cookies set. Let's give it a try. Let's import cookies from Next headers in our actions. And let's do here cookies set token, the response.token. If it exists, maybe. Now, if I press here sign in, hopefully it worked and we set a cookie. Can we see it? I think we should see it somewhere here. Cookies, localhost, token. and it has the token, the value. So later on, when we navigate somewhere else, for example, to the dashboard products, we're going to have the same token and we're going to be able to read it and use it to send requests to create products and so on. So is that everything that we need right now on the login part? And everything, what should happen after I press sign in? I should somehow redirect them. But how do I get this information here on the part? Or maybe I can redirect from the action itself. Next.js redirect from server action. Because after successfully logging in and setting the token, what I want to redirect. In server actions as well. So the redirect, where is it coming from? From next navigation. Yes. So in next navigation, we can import redirect, and after we set the token, we can redirect to /dashboard, I think. So now if I go back in my login screen here and say I want to log in with new@gmail.com and password 123, if I do sign in, should automatically be redirected to dashboard, but I'm not. Because there is what? It failed to set the cookie because it already exists, or what? Redirect error. Is this set asynchronous or synchronous? Why redirect error here? Return redirect. Let's try. Sign in. No, still. You should move it to the finally block. But why is that? So if I do here finally, it's going to be by default login, but I'm going to change it to simply dashboard. And in finally, this is going to be a let. I'm going to do redirect URL. Is that how it's supposed to be? Let's see. If I sign in, I'm redirected to the dashboard. This page could not be found because in the dashboard I do not have a page yet, but I'm gonna have it a bit later. TSX, like this. Okay, have dashboard here. and I can do /login. And if something is wrong, for example, if there is an error, it's redirecting to the dashboard /login, which I made a mistake. It should just be login. If I make a mistake here, it's going to redirect back here. And it probably should include some parameters here, like with the error message. Error message failed to login. Will that work? Maybe it should be in code URI component, as Didar is saying. And this will encode it as a URI. And I can take this error message in my page, which is client component, as search params. This is what from Next navigation. Let's try it out. So if error message, I can do form is invalid. If there is an error message, I will add is invalid to the form control, and this will make our inputs with red. And here below the login, or maybe somewhere close to the buttons, let's do if error message text render error message. So if I do something and do sign in, I'm redirected here. We see fail to log in. Maybe you can provide more information, but for now that's good. And if I do new at gmail.com 123 sign in, that is redirecting us to the dashboard. And it also has set the cookie with a token. Oh, that was good. I think with this we have the nice login flow. We can do the same with a sign up. So I'm going to copy paste this one again in our actions file for handle sign up. It's also going to be email password. Redirect is going to be back to login. The message failed to sign up. Let's call the sign up function from API off. And if we correctly sign up, we're also going to get the token. We're going to store it in the cookie. We're going to follow the same procedure here. And the only thing is left to do is back in our page, when we call this button sign up on press, we're going to call the handle sign up action with email and password. Like this. So let's see if we're going to be able to sign up as well. So I'm going to go to login. If I use the same email as before, for example, new, and try to sign up, it should fail because the email already exists. So fail to sign up. If I'm going to use another one, 123, and do sign up, I'm redirected back to the dashboard, and I think a new cookie has been set correctly. So with that being said, we have our authentication ready. Git status git commit minus authentication ready. Perfect. Thank you very much for the help, everyone who is helping me in the chat. Another thing that probably we should do here is, if we are not authenticated, if I'm going to go into my tools in the application, and if I'm going to remove this token, cookie, delete, and if I would try to go to the dashboard, I should not be allowed to do that. So somewhere, and I think that is going to happen in the dashboard layout file. The layout file, if you are coming from Expo, the layout here works in a similar way. It basically will be rendered for every screen inside the dashboard folder. So here we can do export default dashboard. It's going to get these children and we're going to render them here. I don't think we need at the moment anything extra except returning the children, or maybe we can add that div. And I think here is where we're going to use the token. We're going to read the cookies. Oh, I like how it's recommending us. Let me do it in a type. Yeah, this is a little bit better showing. So we're gonna read the token from our cookies. If there is no token, we're gonna redirect to login. And because this does not have use client, this layout is going to render or is going to execute on the server, and it has access to the cookies on the server. And if there is no token, it's going to simply redirect to login. So now if I'm going to try to manually go to dashboard, enter, I'm going to get back to login. If I'm going to try to go to dashboard /product/20, I'm going to get back to login. And this is how we protect our dashboard layout. And even if there will be a token, for example, after I log in, if I do new gmail.com 123 sign in, then I'm redirected to the dashboard. We can do the same protecting the login page. We can go on the login. We can add here a layout.tsx. And similar to how we have a layout in the dashboard, I'm actually going to copy paste it in our login layout. Just rename it to login layout. We're gonna take the cookie, and if there is a cookie, I'm going to redirect to /dashboard. Otherwise, I'm going to render the children. So now if I will try to go to login, I'm redirected to the dashboard because I already have a cookie. So this way we're protecting also them unauthenticated screens as well. And only if I'm going to remove this cookie, and if I will reload, I'm going to get back to login, and I'm not going to be able to go to the dashboard. But the home screen for us remained unprotected. So this one will be accessible both by authenticated and unauthenticated users. And only the login and the dashboard are the ones that have a layout which is working with a token. Another thing that I want to mention is, even if there is a token in the dashboard layout, if there is a token, we cannot be sure that that token is valid. So what you should do is probably you should send a test request to the server. You should have a validate token endpoint on the server that is going to tell you if the token is valid or not, or maybe even a refresh token, because this token, after probably 1 hour or after some time passes, this token is going to get invalidated. So this is still not like the final solution, but at least it works for our simple use case. We're going to continue using it. But in a production environment, you would probably want to not only check if it exists, but also check if it's valid. And if it's expired, you'd want to regenerate a new one. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and do git add, git commit -m. And this is our off guarding. Perfect. Hello, Dana. How are you doing? Hello, Jose. You can also use middleware. A middleware. And what would be the benefit of a middleware? Just separating the logic of a layout from a logic of authentication and so on. The middleware is the best option for this, I think. Next.js middleware allows you to run code before a request is completed. Yeah, I think that would be actually the best approach, a middleware instead of a layout, because layout is most probably meant for reusable UI components, and middleware is more for reusable or code that you want to run before a request. Yeah, redirecting. Yeah, you can do that in a middleware. I'm not going to move it there just because I really want to continue, because we have other things we have to do right now. But if we have time, maybe we can go back to do the middleware. What's going on? You might get suspense errors for use search params. The fix is to just use the native browser version. Oh, yeah, I think that's true. I don't need like a hook use search params. Maybe just use browser. Okay. Yeah, layout is best for the navbar. Yeah, that's true. For usable UI. I agree. And for requests, is middleware. Hello, what are you using for auth? Is it Supabase? No, it's custom authentication. We implemented it in part one of this series on the API side. Inside our authentication here, we are using JWT to create tokens. We have the register route and the login route. And now we are simply interacting with that API. Okay, so let's continue, and let's go ahead, and now that we have the token, we have authentication, we are going to be able to call functions on our API, such as where in the routes products, we're going to be able to call post request. And because this one is only allowed for logged in users and the ones that have a seller role. So what I will do is I'll go ahead and 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second. I have an important call, and we come back and implement this creating of products. I'm gonna be back. Okie dokie. I need some oxygen in here. Okay, so as I was saying, the next step is going to be to create products. But as I'm mentioning here, the products are going to only authenticated users that have a valid token are going to be able to do that. And also the ones that pass this verify seller, which will simply check the role if the role of that user is a seller. So we're gonna have to manually change the role of a user, and I think that's fine for more or less like the beginning. And I'm going to do that where? Let's go ahead and access our database, and our database is on Genesio. Let's go to genesio.com, let's log in, and let's go to databases. Here under e-commerce, I'm gonna go actions, view data, and I'm gonna look at users. I'm gonna scroll until the end, and I'm gonna look at this new Gmail user, and it has the ID of 38. Take a user that you want to work with, remember the ID, and let's write the following SQL syntax. Let's update the users table, and we're going to set role equal to seller, where ID is equal to the one that you found, that you want to target. So 38. Now if I run the query, we see query executed successfully. And if I go back to users and run the query and go back there, we're gonna see that this one that has new, where is it? 38. I don't even see it. 38 here, new. It has a role seller. And now you should actually re-log in the application, because role is part of a JWT token. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here. I don't have a logout button, which probably I should, but for now I'm just gonna go to application here in the DevTools. I'm gonna go to cookies, and I'm gonna find the token cookie. Where is it? I don't know. Can I go to /login? Yeah, I can go. So I'm gonna go and log in with with this new user, and this one has the role seller and is going to allow me to create new products. So from dashboard, let's go ahead and under products first. This is where we see our list of products. And yeah, let's go ahead and render a plus sign here in the not API, but dashboard application. Let's go into the dashboard side under products. Well, first of all, we're going to have a folder called create that is going to have a form for creating a product. It's going to have a page because that's the code that represents what we want to render. And let's start with export default function and simply this div. And if I navigate to /create, meaning /dashboard/product/create, we should see create product. Perfect. We want to navigate there when we press on some of the buttons. So on the products page where we render the list of products, what I want to do is I want to render before everything else, I want to render a link that is going to navigate to create product. This link is imported from Next link. Come on. And it's going to be something like this, but I can improve how it looks by putting inside this link a card, and inside the card I will put, let's import the card from our, oh, come on. Why I'm keep touching all of these buttons? Let's import the card here. And inside the card, maybe I should do class name w full and height full. Okay. And maybe a mean width, similar to how our product list item has. Let me go there, the card, or maybe this one, the link has mean width 300 pixels. I'm gonna have the same here. Come on. So it's an empty square, and inside there I can render an icon from components. I don't have an icon installed, so let's go ahead and run npx gluestack UI add icon. And inside this card, I'll be able to render an icon from our components as a plus sign that we can import from import plus from Lucid. Or maybe we can use Gluestack icons. Let's search for icon. It's compatible with React Server components. There are some Gluestack icons that we can use, and I think this plus sign or add icon is there, so I'll not even have to install Gluestack for a second. I'll just import add icon from. I'm not going to have to install Lucid icons. I wanted to say I can use Gluestack icons here, and if I go back to my UI, I have a plus sign. I just have to put it in the center by doing item center and justify center. Okay, maybe the plus sign should be bigger. And fill color, if I do fill slate 500, will it change the color? Or how do you change the color? Color. Yeah, the color. Okay, now if I press on this plus sign, we are redirected to create product, and that's where we can build the form for creating a product, right? Okay, now we have a button. Let's go into the create page, and that's where we're gonna have our form to create a product. It's going to be quite similar to how we had like our login, where the form is a client component to bind like with state, and then we have actions on the server that is going to interact with our API. So let's go ahead and in the login page, I want to take some inspiration from here. But let's see what exactly I need from here. Should I just take everything? Let's try to take everything and then adjust. I'm gonna take everything from our login page into create page here. And let's replace this return with this part. And we're gonna start. We're gonna import box. Come on. Oh, come on. From components UI, we're going to import form control from components UI, vstack, components UI. Maybe we should have copied everything from the imports as well from there, but I'm going to go with it. Import text, input from components UI, input field. From components UI, our message is going to come in a second. Age stack from components UI, and we're not going to have two buttons, so I can remove the first one, and I'm going to keep only the second one. Maybe I don't need HTag as well because I only have one button there, but I have to import from components UI. And on handle press, I'm gonna add that a bit later. Let's just finish with the button will say save product. And it's going to have some fields. Error message. Error message, we know that we took it from the search parameters. But someone is recommending me not to use search parameters hook because it might not work properly, might throw some errors on the server. So someone recommended me to just use browser. But I don't have a lot of time to experiment and test a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna use these use search parameters in my create product page as well. I need to make sure that this component is a client-side component because it will run in browser. Let's import it from Next Navigation. Now we have our message here, and we can also display it at the bottom of the screen. And finally, for the input fields, let me remove one for password and only keep the first one for email. That is going to transform into the name of a product. So this one needs a state for the name. Let's import the state from React. And let's give it to the input name and set name. Now let's go ahead and see if we have anything here. Yes, we have. We have a form with name. We can go ahead and change the login heading to create product. We can go ahead and from the button remove the flex one from here because that made the button a bit smaller. But now it has a name. We can write things and then we can press save product. That is not going to do anything at the moment. Let's double check. Let's see what other data do we need for a product in our API source, routes, products, or maybe in the source database product schema. Our product has an ID which is automatically generated. It has name, it has description, it has image and price. So it has a name. Let's go ahead and do the same for description and price. The image, we're not gonna handle it at the moment. We need name, description, and price. Let's go ahead and create and duplicate this VStack with our input. One more time for description. Let's change here description. Value is going to be description, and on change text set description. And one more time for our price. So let's change this one to price, value, price, on change text, set price, and the type can be number. Not sure what effect it has on web or mobile. It will influence what our numeric should be. Oh, actually, it's just text. So now it has three fields, name, description, and in a second, I should also see the price. If I reload, I also see the price. Perfect. Now that we have these fields, we need the action that is going to interact with the API. Hello from Somalia. Hello, Mohammed. Didar is saying, I'm really enjoying this, learned a lot from you, and my first client was an e-commerce website, which is now in production. That's so nice. I'm very happy that you're enjoying this build. So, now that we have a UI, as I said, we need the actions.ts file. And here we need the action that is going to submit the product to the API. So let's do export async function create product that is going to receive, oh, I don't need database insert, that is going to receive a name, description, price, and then we can call our API using fetch. Now my question is, do we really need this fetch here in the products? Probably yes. So in the dashboard API products, the same way as we have here fetch products and list products, let's go ahead and add another function called function create product. We can go name, description, price, and what we're gonna do is we are going to send the fetch request to /products to our API. The method is going to be post, but here we also need the headers, we need the tokens. So maybe we don't even need this function, maybe we can do that in the action itself. What do you think? Let's try this time to skip this action from here. I'm gonna copy the call, and I'm going to go straight in my products actions and do this fetch in the action. I need the API URL that usually I have here at the top, but I think the best way would be to have in the dashboard a file called config.ts that is going to export default API or export const API URL, which is going to be taken from the process environments. Now I'll just import it in our products action, not to have to access it through environments over and over again. It's going to send it with post, but as I was saying, I also need here the token, because without that token, I can go ahead and do console log response and see what is going to be the response there. Let's try, and the actions needs the use server at the top to make them server actions. Now let's take this create product, import it in our page, and when we press the button, let's call handle create product name, description, price, and make sure to import this function from our actions. Import create product actions, and let's take this create product and call it on button press. And price should be casted to a number, so I'm going to put it inside number. Okay, now let's go ahead and see what is going to be the response. I'm gonna look in the logs of the dashboard. I'm gonna scroll down, I'm gonna add some spaces, and I'm going to do test 1, 2, save product. And I see that what? I'm sending the request to this URL, and the response is 401, which means unauthorized. So we can check here if response is not okay. We're going to, let's also do here the redirection. Is redirection the only way that we can go back from an action to the component? People that have experience with Next.js, let me know. Or is there a way to return something here? But I don't think that we can return, because the code that is invoking this page TSX is executed on the client in browser, but the action is executed on the server. So I suspect that the only way to return something is basically redirect with some search parameters, but let me know if there is another way. So let's go ahead and do redirect URL equal to this URL, to the dashboard products. By default is going to be products, because if everything is okay, it's gonna go there. It's going to be a let. I'm going to do a try here. In the catch, if something bad happened, I'm going to do redirect URL / dashboard products create with error message failed to create product. I'm interested if this way is going to work, but probably no. And I'm going to call it, I'm going to put it into a template string and call, how did we do that in code? Encode URI component. Encode URI component. And the string that we want to encode is failed to create product. Now in the finally block, we're gonna do the actual redirection. We're gonna call redirect, import it from next navigation, and we're gonna execute the navigation. Now we can do the same thing here with redirect URL in the rest. Okay. Or maybe we can simply throw here. That's true. I don't know. You can definitely put more information. I don't think I will do that. So now, if I come here and do save product, we're gonna see fail to create product. It's not the best error message, because you can definitely do better here with error messages, such as if response.status 401, then we're gonna redirect to login maybe. Yeah, that's actually a very good thing to do, because if we are not authenticated, we should go back to login, and maybe you should even remove the token. Remove token from cookie, like this. That would be a very appropriate thing to do, because if we were unauthorized to create a product, maybe your token is expired. So in that case, we redirect to the login. However, in our case, the problem was a different one. So I'm gonna go back, new gmail.com. I'm gonna be back here. I can go to products. I'm gonna do create. And in our case, the problem was that we never sent our token to when we tried to create the product. We never sent the token back to our API. To do that, I'm going to get the token from the cookies, a token. I'm going to take this token and I'm going to send it through the headers as authorization, and not without bearer. I'm just going to do token like this. And I think it's also important for us to do here is content type application JSON. Now, if I'm going to try to create the product, test 1, 2, 3, test and price 1, 2, 3, save, we are redirected to the login. Why? That's the question. I think we are console log response. Maybe we are not a seller, or what happened there? Okay, we are here. I think the next step is going to be to add some navigation links, because without that it's not very fun. So here, what's happening? 1, 2, 3, save product, and let's look at the error. It's still unauthorized. ¿Por qué? Because again, cursor added here the keyword bearer, but I only need token. So if I remove it and try again, let's go ahead and do new gmail.com, sign in. And if I do here /dashboard create 123 123 123, save product, boom, it was saved correctly. And we're gonna see that we should have a new test here, which the best way to double check if we actually created it is to go into our database, or maybe to just do, yeah, like one way would be to go to database, edit schema, look into products. There should be last product created with the name 123 123 123. Perfect. And that's our product creation part. On the homepage, here, probably you're going to see that we do not have that 123 product. For example, if I go ahead and create here, this is a new product. Let's do some description, 1234, save product. We are redirected back, but here we do not see it. Even if I reload, even if I hard reload, maybe if I hard reload, it actually appears here. But later when we deploy to production, I think this one is not going to appear, because by default Next.js is going to cache our data here, our components, and it's going to serve as the cached version. And what we can do probably is to, in the action when we create a new one, if everything worked correctly, we should invalidate a fetch request. So let's see how that would happen in Next.js invalidate fetch. So when we call fetch, by default, Next.js is going to cache this data, cache this request. We can specify here cache no store, and this is going to skip the cache and go directly to the API or to the URL that we are fetching. Or we can do here cache by time, revalidate cache data. So revalidating cache data can happen. Where is it? Come on. What am I looking at? Oh, this is version 15. So on version 15, I think it will be a bit different. So I'm not even sure if I need to cover it, because in 15 is going to be differently. The fetch has got some updates. Because in 14, to invalidate we can do tags and then revalidate by revalidating. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna cover this. I don't think I'm going to provide a very cohesive information here. We also with idea that in the version 15 is going to be a bit different. Because after we reload, we saw that it actually appears here. So for us, it's okay. If in production, it's going to always serve from cache, like then we may think about it. Let's probably add like some images, some dummy images, or it's okay to not have images for now. Rudy is asking, will you do another Christmas calendar series? Actually, that's something that we are working on, and we are finalizing the last details, and we're gonna announce it pretty soon, because this year we're gonna combine multiple things that we have done in the past, so it's going to be a fun experience where you're also going to be able to participate. So this December is going to be special. We're gonna, all I can say is that we're gonna have a lot of live streams, and you're also going to participate. So figure it out. What do you think is gonna happen? So does that mean that our creating products more or less works? I think so. Let's go ahead and do a git add, git commit -m, create product, git push origin main. Okay. Now, before we move to the next part, what I really want to do is I want to cover and build some layouts to be easier to navigate around my application. And I'm gonna start with the application dashboard and this layout, because layouts are used to render things that are shared among different components. For example, if in this dashboard layout, I'm going to go ahead and render here an H1 dashboard, we're going to see that all my pages that start with dashboard URL, all of them will have this dashboard text, even the create and so on. So that's a good place where we can add some navigation bars. How I'm gonna do that? I'm gonna probably take some inspiration from the project that I used to prepare this one for. This one. Let me quickly open something. And that should be this one, I think. So I have the code for the layout, but I'll try to simplify it and explain it together with you. Okay, so in our products layout here, let's go ahead and start with what? Let's start with a header at the top. So a header at the top that is going to be displayed at the top of all our components. Maybe we can declare it as a separate component, function header, and let's render it here above our children. So above our children, there we're gonna have a header. I think my whole application will have a class name, background 0. Can I do background 0? Background white. BG background 0. Okay. Wait, where was this coming from? Maybe I should change in the whole layout. Gluestack mode light. I think my browser automatically takes it because Gluestack, yeah, here if I do dark, all the cards as well are going to change. But I think I want to keep this light and to change only the, I'm gonna do it at the body level. I want the background to be white. Okay, that's good. Now let's go ahead in our dashboard layout, and here in the header, let's start rendering it as a box. The box is going to be a heading probably called dashboard. And the box is going to have some padding. And I'm going to add a border at the bottom as well. Border bottom. Like this. Perfect. On the other side here, we can add things like the profile icon. So there is a component called avatar that we can install using Gluestack add avatar. And we can render it as avatar. You can send there the image, or we can send a fallback here, avatar fallback, and render some text, for example, body, the initials of a user. Fallback text. Oh, come on. Should be avatar fallback text. Imported from avatar component. And now we see the avatar fallback text here, but we want to put them in the same line, in the same row. So for that reason, instead of box, we can do h stack, imported from our components, and also justify between, so that the items are going to be at the different sides of our horizontal stack. Maybe I need with full or flex one. Where is it? Yes, now we see it at the other end of our component. Padding 5 maybe now is too much, padding 3, and I'm gonna add item center to put both the heading and the avatar on the same horizontal line. Perfect. Okay. Now, in a similar way, I'm going to have a sidebar. For the sidebar, let's just start by rendering a vertical stack with, I don't know, a text saying dashboard. Let's import vertical stack from our components. Let's import text as well. From our components UI. And I'm gonna render this sidebar below the header, but the sidebar should be side by side with our children. So for that reason, I'm gonna put them into a horizontal stack together, the sidebar and the children, like this. Perfect. Now I don't know where is that line coming from, but maybe it was already here, border R. the AI added it for me. So now I have a border there as well. Another thing that I want to do is I want to make these components stay here and only the center part to scroll. For that, what I'm going to do is on the whole div here is going to have a height screen. So the height of the whole div is going to be screen. How did I do it? Height screen. And the children are going to go into a box with flex1 and overflow Y auto to make it scrollable. Only the children part. It still doesn't work. So the whole thing is hide screen and overflow hidden. Yep. Now I cannot scroll. That's good. Something is working. But this box is not working properly because I still cannot scroll it. That means that this hstack is going to have a class name full to be 100%. And now I can scroll this box. And our header and our sidebar remains there, remains visible. And now they're going to be visible in every part where we have our create product, where we have our product details, and so on. Maybe to make it look more like this side, to look more like a page, we can do background color, something like a grayish. Why it doesn't work? Okay, that's too much. But why 300 didn't work? 400 works. 200 is gonna work, but that's even also too dark. 100. Let's try another color. I don't really like it. Background gray. 50. Come on. 100. Yes, gray 100 looks better. It has this separation between our components. And maybe even a padding 3. Yep. What's going on with this one? Why it's not same width as these items? In my dashboard products page, we have 300 pixels for this card. But product list items, they have also 300 pixels. Is it because of padding? Probably. Because they are in the class name. We had this part. And here we had padding 5. Now will they have the same size? Come on. No, it still doesn't have the same size. Page and product. This one has flex, mean width. I'll have the same for this link. Yes, now it has the same width. Perfect. Okay, so back to our navigation. We are not done yet there. So back to our navigation in the layout, in the sidebar, that's where we have to render different URLs, right? So for the URLs, we're gonna have dashboard, which probably is going to be our home screen. And these URLs are going to be inside the link, dashboard, then products, and then later orders as well, but let's just add them. Let's import link, and these things will be displayed there. And we can navigate from dashboard to products to orders, and only products page is actually built. Let's implement a little bit different how we render these items. I'm going to render them as as a text dashboard, and maybe an icon before. Icon, home icon. Let's not overcomplicate it with icons. I'm just gonna put them inside text and that's it. Products. And here, text orders. I'm just gonna go into this vstack and say the gap between them should be 3. Perfect. Padding should be even more. Maybe padding right should be like 5 or 6. Have a bit more spacing there. Come on. Okay. And now at least I can have a basic navigation system here. To make this one usable on mobile as well, what we can do is we can have another function called mobile navbar, and this one to render as a horizontal stack. And this one we're gonna render it at the bottom of a screen, probably below the header here, mobile navbar, like this. Not sure where it's going to be displayed, but I believe somewhere it should be displayed. So mobile navbar, render below our H stack. So where is it? Most probably it's pushed by the H full here. And let's go ahead and in the mobile footer display it as absolute position at the bottom of a page. If we go back, all right, we see it. We see it here at the bottom. Only thing we need to do is have a background white for it. Okay, it has the background white. And instead of text here, probably that's where icons would do a little bit better. So let me check in our Gluestack. Icons or icon. See what icons I can use. I can use Well, instead of, there is some good icons that you can use here. I'm not sure if I'm gonna find all of them that I need. So instead of that, Gluestack integrates really nicely with Lucid icons. So go ahead and install npm install Lucid React. But at the moment of recording this video, Lucid React is not supported with Gluestack. There is a small bug that the team is from Gluestack is working on fixing it. So I'm gonna install the React Native version of Lucid. And in the mobile navbar, instead of text, I'm going to render here icon component from components UI icon. And with as, I can import here a Lucid icon, and this one, which one is going to be home icon? Let's use home icon, and let's import it from Lucid React Native. Then I'm gonna also render home icons here as well. Let's check it out. Home icon is not defined. Home icon, Lucid icon, React Native. Let's see. Is it gonna run properly on the server? So something is not properly working with Lucid icons, I believe, because if I import here an icon directly from Gluestack, such as, I don't know, let's take anything and try to render it. I think it should work, but we can double check it if it's gonna work. So yeah, icons from Gluestack work. From Lucid, for some reason, it's not working. For you, you could try, maybe they will gonna work, but for now, I'm gonna find some icons from here that I can use. I'm gonna go with that star. Star icon for products. Imported from UI icon, and orders are going to be the three dots icon. Let's import it as well. And this one is okay, so now we have some icons there at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and style them properly in the H tag. I'm going to align them in the center, or maybe I'm going to do justify between to add the space between the items. Padding free probably is good. And what I will do is I will hide the sidebar on mobile, and I will hide the bottom one on the web. So let me do that in the following way. So one of them will be hidden on the web and one on mobile, not on, it depending on the screen side. 1 second, let me just double check which one and how. So the mobile footer is going to have MD hidden, and from screens starting from medium above is going to be hidden. Now we see it as hidden, but as we move down, if we get to a screen lower than medium, is going to be visible. And we need to do the same for the normal sidebar. The sidebar is going to be by default hidden, but from MD and above is going to be displayed as flex. So here it's visible, but when we get on a medium screen, we hide the sidebar and we show the bottom tabs. Perfect. The bottom tabs maybe needs a, how is it called? Border top, not right. Yes, like that. And we can move from this one to this one. There are no borders for now. To dashboard. Yeah. And we can do the same here. Where is the header? If I press. Okie dokie. And maybe the products page should not have this MX auto, because if it's larger than the screen, I probably want to keep it close to the sidebar, right? On huge screens. Yeah, that looks good. I have a create screen. Again, not sure if I need to put it in the center, but these are already like small details that you can adjust. Maybe you can put it here for create product, but it looks good here. It scales, resize properly. So now that we have a very basic navigation system, we can go ahead and do git add, git commit -m layout and navigation sidebar. And the next step is going to be to go ahead and implement the orders page, where we're going to be able to display orders from a user with their details. Hey Joe, how are you doing? Have not watched your live stream for a long time. You're welcome. You're welcome back. How do you pay for products in this application? Because otherwise it's not just an order system as opposed to e-commerce. That's a very good question. And that's what we're going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow I plan to integrate the payment system in this project, because this is the only feature that is going to be left after this tutorial, to have like a real e-commerce project, e-commerce application with everything custom made, with backend, with mobile application, with dashboard, and an e-commerce application, as you said, needs a payment integration to be able to handle payments. So that's what we're gonna do tomorrow. So if you want to join, make sure to subscribe to the channel not to miss any of our future videos. Looking forward to more Next.js tutorials. I'm also interested in maybe going into Next.js as well, covering some projects in Next.js. Let me know if you'd be interested. How many people are here? Let's run a vote and see how many would be interested in some Next.js tutorials. Let's go ahead and do the poll. And give me 1 second, I'm gonna take a 2 minutes break. I come back and we continue with the order management system. So, see you soon. Okay, we are back. All right, so our poll is actually a lot of you guys are interested in Next.js. 92% of you. That's amazing. That's amazing news because maybe we are gonna do more of that. If you are interested in Next.js and React Native Expo and all of this stuff, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we have here, I'm going live every single week on Friday, sometimes even more often than that, with project-based tutorials. So Uber remaking React Native. Next.js really sucks in self-hosting. I understand where you're coming from. I'm not gonna debate it here. Okie dokie, guys. So now that we have the products management to see and create products, authentication, and basic layout, let's go ahead in the orders and start creating our order management system. So first of all, let's go ahead in our dashboard application, dashboard again. And here we're gonna create a new folder called orders. In these orders, we're gonna create a page.tsx, and this is going to be our page export default for orders, right? So now if I'm gonna go here, we have orders at the top. For some reason, I think my Google Chrome is doing that because it's changing the color because I have a different theme. If I'm gonna go ahead for display and change it from dark mode to light mode, it should come back. But anyway, here what we want to do actually is we want this server function to be an async function, and this one is going to fetch the orders. At the moment in our API, we do not have orders.ts file. Let's go ahead and create it here as orders.ts. And from our, well, it's not even fair. Orders, we need to do export const fetch orders, which is going to be an async function. Or let's do it, export async function fetch orders. And here we're gonna do a try catch. If it gets an error, it's going to return empty array. But here we're going to do const orders equal, not Prisma, const response equal await. We're gonna use fetch to fetch data from our server. It's not gonna be this one, but it's going to be API URL imported from our config / orders. Because if we look in our Thunder client, list orders is a request to / orders. And let's do that. So if response is not okay, we're gonna throw an error and we're gonna get here. Otherwise, we're gonna get the data and we should have the array of orders. Now that we have this fetch orders function, we can go back into our app dashboard orders page. And here say const orders equal await fetch orders. Let's import that function and let's do a console log orders to see what's going on here. I'm gonna look into the logs and we see right away an empty array. That's because failed to fetch orders. Let's go into the orders here. And if response status is not okay, let's do console log response. I already know it should be 401, like unauthorized, because we are not sending the token. But I'm gonna show you how to debug it. Here we see 401, unauthorized, meaning that the fetch request to the orders, if we look into our API, source database, not database, routes, orders, index, getting the orders has this verified token. So we need to assign here a token. Question, will I have access to the cookies here? Let's give it a try. Const token equal cookies imported from next header get token. Will I have it here? Console log token. Let's try to put it in the headers. Authorization. Make sure not to use the keyword there, just put the token. It should probably be even like this. And I'm gonna do content type application.json. What's wrong with headers? I think token can be undefined. So we're gonna do or empty string, I don't know. Now if we try, yeah, we see orders, and yeah, here it had access to the token because this function was called from the server side, so it has this cookie. Perfect. I can delete the console log, and it's going to work here like this. So that means that now in the page we have a list of orders, as you can see here. Let's go ahead and render them on the screen. To render them on the screen, I'm going to go into the Gluestack. I'm going to use a table here. Table is alpha support, so things might change here from the API standpoint. We might improve it or change it, but at the moment, this is the documentation and that's how it works. We were going to install the table, and we have table header, table body, table footer. Then in, for example, table body, we have a table row with different columns with table data. They are going to be displayed like this. Let's go ahead and install table component from Gluestack in our dashboard. Make sure you are in the dashboard when running this command. Pro evils. Yes, we are going to actually deploy by the end of this tutorial, we're going to deploy our Next.js application to Genesio. So this is going to be an alternative to deploying Next.js to Vercel. Like if you don't want to do that, I'm going to show you how you can choose Genesio as an alternative. So yes, we're going to use the open next, but it's going to be quite simple, like one command that is going to be up. Anyway, back here we have a table. Let's go ahead and take this code for the table row, and I'm going to start with a box first because maybe I'm gonna add some colors or background. So let's start with a box, and inside that box, let's paste the table. I'm gonna import box from UI. I'm gonna import table from UI table. Make sure that you import them correctly. Header as well, table row as well, table body, table data, table head, and table footer. All of these components we need here. Now if I'm gonna look into our dashboard, what's going to happen? It has a context. So the table, as it is at the moment, that means that it's not supported on the client, on the server side. So our options are either we make the UI a client component, or we are building our own table. Because at the moment, table, as you can see, needs the create context, which is only supported on the client side. Yeah, so yeah, let's give up on the table for now because we want to use server side as much as possible. And instead of that, we are going to manually go ahead and loop through the orders and say map. For every order, I'm going to render a row, so a horizontal stack. In the horizontal stack is going to get a key with our orders.map order, and here is the return. Opening like this. I need order.id. We're gonna do order ID, order created that, and order, I don't have a total yet, I have a status there. So let's just do that. Let's import text from our UI components. And just like that, we should have something there. Not perfect, but we have something. I'm gonna go ahead and style the box with a class name bgwhite. I'm gonna give it a padding, or should we use a card here and that's it? Because the card is going to have background. Oh, come on. Yeah, and it's going to have like round corners. I think using card in this case is good. And for every item, let's give it a class name. Padding for, maybe we can do a border bottom to have some separation between items like this. I can do also justify between to put the space between the components. Maybe justify between is not necessary here. What I can do is I'm gonna do a gap to add some spacing between the columns. And for the last column, I'm going to go ahead and give here a class name of margin left auto so that the status is going to go there. Or maybe even better, we're gonna, or let's do that. It's okay. Come on, class name margin left auto. And just for this component on large screens not to be crazy huge, this card is going to have a max width XL or screen large. So it's not gonna go more than this. Okay, for the time, we can maybe use day.js to parse the time and render it properly. Let's do npm install day.js. And here created that, we're gonna do day.js. And let's do format. We need to import day.js first. And for the format, I also want to do time. So I'm gonna do HHMM. So this is the date, this is the time. This is the order number, that's good. At the top, I can do another, I can copy paste the same H stack, and in this case, I will remove a key and I will add some titles like ID. This one is going to be date time, and this one is going to be status. And for the text, I'm going to do class name font bold to make it pop. Font bold. Card, unexpected token. Oh, here. Okay, we have ID, we have date, we have status. Good. So we have some data here. At the moment, that's the only data that we return from the list orders. Maybe later we can update our API to return other data, such as the total amounts or the items that are listed and so on. But what we can do now is when we click on one of these rows, maybe we can redirect to the orders details page. So if I come here and click on one of these rows, I want to go to the details page of a order. So let me actually go ahead and first do a git add git commit -m orders list. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder with ID under our orders for our details page. So let's go ahead and do page.tsx and export default. It's going to be what? params.id. Now if I press on one of these, I didn't implement it yet because I should go back to a page. And when we loop through the orders, I'm going to wrap our A stack in a link. And this link is going to come from next link and is going to redirect to dashboard/order/id. And the key is going to go to the link itself, not to the H stack. And everything is working as it was working before, but I can press on one of these and I see the ID of that order. ID 8, ID 10. Summit. Summit is asking, will you teach us React Native from scratch? Please do take some sessions of React Native. Well, probably you are new on our channel because React Native is basically everything that we do here. So if you go to our channel and check our, where is it? Notjust.dev. If you navigate to YouTube and search Notjust.dev and you go to the live page, here you're gonna find hundreds of project-based tutorials and all of them are based on React Native and Expo. So there is a lot of things that you can learn from. What I recommend you do if you want like a end-to-end tutorial is under the videos. There is this one that we published 8 months ago, where React Native full 8 hours video. This is both front-end and back-end for food ordering application. But if you want a more structured way of learning, you're also in good hands. You can go to notjust.dev/React Native Mastery, because I'm currently working on a new and updated course for learning and mastering React Native and Expo. This one is going to also be based on project. It's going to have not 1, not 2, but actually 7 different projects that you're going to build in this project. And you're going to use the tech stack of a powerful and modern tech stack that are powering a lot of top applications out there. So the launch of this course is going to be November 26th, and I encourage you to join the waitlist to stay up to date. And if you're watching this later, the course should already be open for enrollment. We already have 50 students that are helping us test and improve the course based on feedback. and so far it's working very good. So go ahead, join the waitlist if you are interested in React Native and mastering React Native. Now back to our Next.js project. Opa. Let's go. So here if we go, yes, we are redirected to the ID 4. So in the page, what we have to do is we need to fetch the product with that ID. So I'm gonna start from our dashboard API worders, and I'm going to probably copy paste these fetch worders because I need another function for fetching one worder. So fetch worder by ID. The ID is going to be string or number. If I'm not mistaken, the ID should be a number. Now we still need a token. We still need to fetch /worders, but we need /worders /ID. We still need authorization token. If response is not okay, we're gonna throw an error. Then we're gonna get data, and here I'm not gonna return this one. I'm gonna return null. Now let's go into our details page and call fetch worder imported from our API worders. It's going to be a number here. And this worder, let's try to console log and see what we have here. If I'm going to navigate to the worder with ID 4, we see the ID 4, created at, status, worder, and also the items that we order there with ID, order ID, product ID, quantity, and price. Cool. So that means that now we can go ahead and render this order here. Let's go ahead and start with rendering a card from UI components. Let's do here the ID of a worder with text. Import text. I'm going to render the DJS created at like this, and also the status. These are the three important things that we need. Let's import DJS. So if we go here, yes, we have it. I'm going to put them into an H stack, probably as a header. Horizontal stack. Maybe the status is going to be below the horizontal stack. Horizontal stack. And how will that look? We have let's do class name font bold. Yeah, maybe I'm gonna put the status also there. So status new. And below this line, below this horizontal stack, what I want to do is I want to render the items that were bought there. So the items, they only have like product ID. We don't actually have all the information about that item. We only have product ID, quantity, and price. Maybe in a second we're gonna go and update a little bit our backend to give us the right data. But for now I can go ahead and do, I can loop through worder.items. And for every worder item, what I'm going to do is I'm going to render a horizontal stack. It's going to have a key because the worder item, if you see here, it has ID, worder item.id. It doesn't have a product name yet. It has only product ID. It has quantity and it has price because the price we duplicated in order item as well. So let's see what we're gonna see here. Yeah, we see something, but with a class name. With some, okay, like this. Maybe I'm gonna have here a heading, items above. Let's give it a class name. Margin top 5 and color or text gray. And here I don't think I need a border bottom because it's going to be too much. So the order with ID 4, I'm very bad at displaying right now information, like it's just a lot of numbers. The order with ID 4 that has this status has the following items. Item product ID 38, one of that product, and the price of that product at that moment of ordering was this amount. So we can do, maybe I can do order item X like this. So it's going to be 1X like this, yeah. But at the moment, like we're kind of limited on data that our server is sending us. So at least we're displaying something. What items? So if I'm gonna go back and check another order, for example, this one, it's a different, let's see, maybe some orders have more items. Oh, this one has multiple items. But we have like some basic UI for rendering the orders and their details. Let me go ahead and do git status, git add, git commit -m orders details. And yeah, as I was saying, probably we need more information about the products that were ordered in a specific order. But for that, we need to adjust a little bit our backend. In our backend, let's go ahead and do some changes there now. Where I need to cover something a little bit more important, the updating of the status. Because right now it's new, I would like to be able to update this status. As that's quite important for the dashboard. I'm pretty sure you can figure out how you can return more data, but it's important for us to have at least the possibility to update an order. So yeah, let's try to update the order. And let me check in the Gluestack and drop down. I select. This is going to be the select. Let's try to see how to use it. So I'm gonna go ahead and install it first in our dashboard. Application dashboard orders ID. At the top there where we have a order ID, where do we have order ID? Let's actually say order ID. Order number 4. And probably order ID is going to be even above H stack, like this. And this status should become a selector. Let's see how we can do that. Select, we have a select trigger and the content of a selector. We need a very simple select. Okay, select item. Let me copy this one. Select. And let's render it instead of a status. I'm going to render the select component. So let's import select from our components. The select trigger is the component that we see before we see the dropdown. Select input, select icon. Oh, and I think that this one is going to be a client component. So yeah, most probably we're gonna let me see and confirm that, but the selector is going to be a client component. Yeah, so for that reason, instead of making the whole page a client component, I'm going to extract this one into a separate component. You can do that in a components folder. I'm going to do right here in this folder, and I'm gonna call it status selector.tsx. And let's now put everything in here. Export default function status selector. Let's return and the select thing. Here I'm going to import again everything that I need, like select trigger, select input, like select icon, select portal, select backdrop, select content, why is not going from a new line? And yeah, that's it. Now if I'm gonna go here, we need to render actually the select status selector in on our page. Status selector. And this status selector, yeah, on the page, I forgot to import it. But this status selector now is still not going to work because it's not indicated that it's a client component. If we add use client, this is going to be transformed to a client component that is going to be rendered and executed on the client side. Now I can go ahead and we can see this selector here. Think back on the page, I don't need the H stack. Maybe that's going to be a box. With these ones here. And we have a selector, which should be a box class name with, I don't know, 24. just to not be full screen. 24 is too little. 48. Yeah, that's good. Now let's go into the status selector and see what statuses we're gonna have. Maybe you're gonna add here different statuses that we can have. So const statuses, we can start from, think it starts from new, and they can have label and value. So label is going to be new, and value is going to be new, or how did we call it? With capital new. Maybe this one is going to be capital, others doesn't matter. Then we can have paid. Then maybe we can have shipped, and we can have another one delivered. So now let's go ahead and loop these statuses here, statuses.map. And for every status, we are going to want to render one of these select items, where the label is going to be status.label, and the value is going to be status.value, and we don't need these ones anymore. And it also needs a key, which can be status.value. Now if I go here, we see new, page, shipped, and so on. We can move through them. Perfect. Should it have like an initial value? Let's get the status as a string and have this one as a default value. Because from the page, we can say that the default status is order status, and that should be new for this one. If I reload, this is going to be initialized with new, because that's what's on the backend. Now when I change it, what I want to do is I want to send a request to the backend to change that there as well. So I want to send an update request to my backend, under client. I want to do update order, which in our API source routes orders. We have here put, we can validate data, and we are going to update the order. So what does that mean? That means that we need a server action on our dashboard up orders here. In the order details, I'm going to have actions.ts. I'm going to do here export async function update order status. We're going to get ID and status. And what's going to happen here? I don't know. Let's see what the AI is saying. We're going to say, hey, we need to fetch, we need to do response equal await fetch. We're going to fetch the URL that starts with API URL / orders / and the ID of that order, so ID. The method is going to be put, and the headers needs the token. Token, we know how to get it. So const token get cookie token. Get cookie from where? From where? From where was our action? From cookies. This whole file should be a use server because it's a server action. And it's not like this, it's cookies, it's like this, token. Cookies get token. Okay, now let's go ahead and say if response is not okay, throw error. Otherwise, return the response.json. I'm gonna also keep track of where I want to redirect. And it's going to redirect back to the same order/id. And I'm going to put everything into a try catch. Actually, should not return anything, you know. I'm going to do a finally here, or maybe a catch error, console log error. And in the final block, I'll do redirect imported from Next navigation to the URL. To the redirect URL. But I think the redirect URL is always going to be there. The only thing that is going to change is going to be the error message that we are going to send. So maybe for now, we're just going to always redirect there without any error messages. And let's give it a try to call update order status from our status selector in the on value change. Can I do that? We need to send here the ID. We need to send the ID. And here is going to be value. So we need ID and the new value. And start tool change. The ID, we're going to take it from the props here. So ID number. In the page, when we render the status selector, let's also send there the order ID. Will it work? I don't know, but we can give it a try. Let's import handle status change. Is that how we called it? No, we called it update order status. So AI is not very good for me today for that particular case. But now I can call this one, and I think I will have to console log just to make sure that what's happening here. Console log ID and status. Now, if I'm going to try to simply change here to paid, we have what? We have ID 5 and new status paid. We are sending the request there and we get back the status new and 3003. Oh, that is the redirection. If I reload, it didn't update. But I want to check the database, in fact, to see what's actually happening. So I'm going to look into here in the orders where ID is equal to 5. So the status is still new. That means that something happened there. So let's go ahead in our action and console log the response. We saw that the ID and the new status was sent correctly. Oh, but we never sent the new the status to the put here. We need to send it through the body as status. Now, if I'm going to try again to change to shipped, what's going to be the console log? Yes, it worked. It worked. If I'm going to look into the database and run the same query again. Hello? Orders where ID is equal to 5. If I run the query, we see the status is shipped. And if I change this one to delivered and reload, the status is going to be delivered. I don't know why it initializes with lowercase, because that should be the key and should take the value of that one. But anyway, this is good. This is automatically updating in our database the status as soon as we change it here. So as soon as we change it here, it updates it, and in our database it's going to be updated. Perfect. So that is our update, and I'm going to go ahead and remove some of these console logs. Probably here we don't even have to redirect. I don't know. Можно вопрос не по теме. Let's go for it. I'm gonna see if I can answer it or not. So let's go ahead and do a git add git commit -m update orders. And we are actually kind of running out of time, but at least we have some. We have most important parts of our dashboard ready. We can view products, we can create new products, new product 1, 2, 3, 4 is going to be displayed here. This is a new product. We can manage orders. We see their statuses. We can go ahead and also update the status. Go back here. It should be updated as well. So perfect. This is most of the more important parts of our dashboard right now. The ways you could improve this one is going to be, first of all, displaying more data about the orders, because at the moment it's just the ID, the date, and here only item IDs. For example, item with ID 38. From the API, I recommend you return more data about the items so that you can render and display them properly in the dashboard here. That's going to make a big difference. Now, in the final step, if we manage to do that, I'm going to try to deploy the dashboard. Let's try to deploy the Next.js dashboard to Genesio. Because we already have an account, and all we have to do is from the dashboard, let's do git status. From the dashboard, I can do Genesio deploy. Let's see what's going to happen here. We're going to choose Europe. It's going to use OpenNext for building Next.js application. It's going to fail because I have a lot of lint errors and TypeScript errors. But I can go ahead in our next, where is it? Is it next config? Yeah, we see that it fails because of unexpected any. And I can go ahead and disable this one for the build. In the next config, I can go ahead and say, hey, yes, lint configuration is going to be ignored during builds. And I'm going to do the same for TypeScript, ignore during builds. And this is just for the lazy me, because I don't want to fix the yes lint errors right now. I just want to build and deploy the project. So now our Next.js is building. It's creating the production build. It detected that we have this API URL. Let's go ahead and say yes. Actually, I should have pressed yes. I don't know why I pressed no there. But anyway, if we go into our Genesio account, into our projects, we should have there the dashboard, and here it should have a URL. So if I open it up, what's going to be here is the entry point with the button. If I go to /dashboard, it's going to redirect me to the login screen. If I'm going to go ahead and say, how was it? It was new at gmail.com 123123. I can sign in, and I should be redirected to the dashboard. Here is our dashboard. We can go to the products. We can see the products, and this is the deployed Next.js application. Where is it? Here. I can go to orders. I can see orders, and everything is working. Let's try to change the status of this order to shipped. And if I will reload, it's still going to be shipped. So as you can see, using Next.js does not mean that you have to deploy it to Vercel. In this situation, we used Genesio to deploy the Next.js application, and it was as simple as running Genesio deploy, and everything is working perfectly fine. All right, guys, so this is our dashboard. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial where we build the dashboard for the e-commerce application with Next.js, with Gluestack, deployed it to Genesio. In the next video, we're going to cover the payment integration so that we were going to have all the important parts in this project for the e-commerce. We already have a backend, which is a REST API. We have a user-side application using Expo, and we have the admin side or the seller side application as a Next.js for the web. Now, if we add the payment so that user can actually pay for the orders and sellers can receive their payments, I think this is going to be a huge project that you can take and actually use as the starting point for your e-commerce projects. If you enjoyed this one, make sure to subscribe to the channel, not to miss our future videos. And yeah, let me know what other features you'd like me to see add in this build, and maybe we can do it tomorrow in the final part. Everyone else, if you still have questions, please reach out to me. I'm on Twitter, notjust.dev, and we can get the discussion there. But now I have to go to prepare for tomorrow's live stream. All right, have a nice day, guys. Enjoy building, enjoy the build, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.